1999 through 2006 BMW X5 E53 valve cover replacement. I'm Brian Eslick from How to Automotive, and I'm going to walk you step by step through the process of replacing that. To get started, we're going to remove this portion of the air snorkel, and you're going to pop the clip out here, and you're going to use these little pliers type tools to pull the clip out. So you'll remove it here, 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 and once you get them all removed, you'll just lift up and pull off like this. Next, we need to pop off the top engine covers. They're supposed to have little covers right here that you're going to pop out. You use a little flat blade screwdriver, and there's going to be one here, one here, one here. Once you get the bolts out, you'll just pull the covers off like this. The lower cover, you're going to have to remove the oil cap, so twist it off. Then you can just lift the cover straight up and off, set aside. At the front of the valve cover, there's going to be a vent hose right here we need to pull off. And you're just going to squeeze the tab and pull. And you don't want to pull too far, it's very fragile. Next, we're going to unplug the coils by popping these little hatches up like this. So you'll do all 6 of the coils. And once you get them all 6 flipped up, then you'll just pull the wires off like this, one by one. And then once you get them all pulled off, what I like to do is use a flat blade screwdriver or a pry bar like this. And you pry it up, and then you can pull the coil out like this and set them aside. I like to set them aside in order. Now you need to remove the 8mm nut that holds the ground wire on right here. Next, you're going to need a flat blade screwdriver, and we're going to pop the wire loom that goes for the coils off. So right here is going to be a catch, and then a little further down right here is going to be a catch. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the flat blade screwdriver underneath it and give it a little twist, and that pops it out of off the mount on the valve cover. Then you can take the wiring harness and flip it up and tuck it out of your way. So I like to just tuck it up under the washer bottle right here. Next, we're going to pull the oxygen sensor plugs out of their little catches that are mounted on the valve cover like this. You lift them up and then push them off to the side. And then towards the back, there'll be a little metal bracket that holds the wires. So you'll spread it open and pull the wires out of the metal bracket like this. And then you'll follow the wires around. There's a little groove in the back of the valve cover that they lay in. So you pull them out and push them towards the firewall. Okay, once you get all the wires pulled out, the next step is to remove the bolts, the 10mm bolts. So there's going to be one here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then down the middle, 13, 14, 15, 16 bolts in total. To remove all of those 16 bolts, I'm going to use my Milwaukee M12 3/8 drive cordless ratchet here. Having this tool has made my life so much easier. I recommend you check one out. I'll leave a link for it in the description of the video. Once you get the nuts off, there's going to be a washer underneath that you need to get out, and then also the grommet, you need to pick it out. If it won't come out, use a little flat blade screwdriver like this and pick it out. Once you get all the bolts removed, then you're going to use a little flat blade screwdriver or a pry bar, and you're going to find a little spot like this to pry under. So you'll put it under the valve cover like this. And what I like to do is actually twist the handle left and right, and that pries up the cover. I couldn't quite get it with the screwdriver, so I switched over to a little pry bar to give me a little bit more leverage. And you want to work in small little increments. The valve cover is made out of plastic, so you don't want to break it. Once you get it popped up a little bit, you can put your fingers underneath and just pull up. And then once you get it pulled up like this, you just work it until it's free, and then you pull it straight out. Okay, now that we got the valve cover off, we need to clean up the surface, and also most likely parts of the old valve cover gasket will stay in there and they'll break off, and they like to fall in. So you want to use a flashlight and look all around and double check and look in all the cam lobes and everything, that none of the particles of the old valve cover gasket broke off and fell inside the cylinder head. So you want to double check that, and you want to retrieve all these pieces, and they like to stay around these bolt holes right here and here where the tube seals, right, kind of like that. See how they like to stay. So make sure you get all that off, and you're going to clean this up. And when you clean, you're going to make sure you wipe away and don't spray into the engine. So you want to clean all this debris. In front of the cam lobes here, there may be a little bit of silicone, and also where the timing cover meets the cylinder head right here. So you want to use a razor blade and scrape all that excess silicone off. You want to make sure you take your time and scrape it all off. The cleaner you can get this, the more successful the valve cover replacement will be. And then so you're going to make sure you got it on both sides. Also in the very back of the cylinder head, right back here, there also may be silicone right where the cam lobes are, so you want to double check that. And if there's silicone there, you need to scrape that out and clean it out there too. Now you can clean your valve cover itself and use a parts washer or a pressure washer and remove all the old seal. Then we're going to install the new gasket. I'll link this up in the description of the video. That way if you guys need to pick those up, you can get those. So we'll install the tube seals first. So they're just press fit. You just line them up with the tabs and push them in. Sometimes some manufacturers, the gaskets fit loose, and if they feel like they're loose fitting and they may fall out, you can use a little bit of 3M black super adhesive weather stripping and put a thin layer in there. I'll link that up in the description also. Mine are fitting pretty tight, so I'm not going to use any on this particular one, but if yours are loose, I recommend you glue them in. So you'll press the tube seals in, make sure they're seated properly, and then we'll move on to the valve cover gasket itself and install it onto the valve cover. Once the gasket is installed onto the valve cover, then what I like to do is take a little bit of black silicone. I use the Right Stuff brand, and we're going to put a little bit in the corners of the cam lobes here and here, just a dollop will do. You don't want to overdo it. You don't need to have it all squishing out and making a huge mess or anything. Just a small little dab on the corners right here. And then I will leave a link in the description of the video for the silicone, also for the gaskets and all the tools that I use. So you can also put a thin layer of silicone right here where the timing cover mounted on, and you may have scratched it when you were cleaning it. So just a thin little layer right here will help. Now you're just going to make sure you got the wires all tucked out of the way, and then you're going to feed the valve cover into the cylinder head. Before I do, I always give the gasket one last check to make sure it's fitting in there secure and tight. Now you can just feed the valve cover in and try to keep it as level and as flat as you can. If you give it a little shake, you can also determine if the gasket's going to fall off or not. So I like to just lower it straight down on, and once you got it on, you can give it a little push down and make sure it's seated. Before I go and install any of the nuts and bolts, what I like to do is take a dental mirror like this, and I'm going to check around the edge all the way I'll start from the front and work my way all the way around the valve cover, making sure that the gasket didn't fall off. It likes to fall off sometimes. It falls on the inside, so you want to double check that there's no gaps or anything in the gaskets there, and no wires are pinched in between the gasket and the cylinder head. This is an important step, and you really want to make sure you take your time on this particular part. And then once you're satisfied it's all done, the next step is we're going to install these new rubber grommets over the bolts and nuts with the washer. I'll link these up in the description of the video. That way you guys can pick those up if you need to get them. So after putting the nut, washer, and grommet on, you can go ahead and put it on there. And the ones with the studs go down the middle. So we're going to tighten all the nuts up in a crisscross pattern. So we're going to start right here in the middle, and you'll run it down till it's snug. Then you'll move over to the left, to the right, and then you move back, middle, left, right, and then we'll move up and we'll do middle, left, right, and then we'll keep moving forward, middle, left, right, and then finally we'll work our way all the way to the very front, middle, left, right, and you tighten these all down till they're snug, and about a quarter or so turn more, you'll feel it bottom out, and you may do this in a couple passes. Now you can take the wiring harness back here in the back and put it back into the grooves that they rested in the valve cover. So push those back into place. So you'll follow it around, and you'll also tuck it right here in the corner, back over the little catches here. Make sure it's all secure. And then you'll tuck the wires back into the little metal bracket by flaring it open and push it in underneath, and it kind of pinches them. Then you'll take the oxygen sensor connectors and push them into the little grooves like this. You line them up, push the wire inside, and then push them in, and you just keep moving your way forward to the front oxygen sensor, and you'll put the wire in the groove like this, and then you line up the oxygen sensor and push it in like that. Now we can take the wiring harness for the coil here and pull it back down into place, and what we're going to do is just lay it on top of the valve cover and line it up right where the coil's plugs line up where they should go. And then there's little catches here. You'll line them up and then you'll push them straight down. And you just push down and you'll hear it click into place. And it's nice and secure. Then you can take the ground wire here and put it on and start the 8mm nut and tighten it up. You don't want to over tighten it, it breaks off really easy, so tighten it up until it's snug. Next we're going to take our coils, slide them back into the tubes like this, and you take the wires and plug them in. And then once you get them plugged in, the way I do it is I push them in as far as I can and then push the little hatch down like this, and then I push the coil all the way down to make sure it fully seats into the valve cover. And I'll repeat this for all 6 of them. So I'll install the coil, plug the wire in, push the little hatch down, and then put the coil down into the valve cover. After that, we can go ahead and reinstall the top engine cover here and make sure you got the oil cap off. So you'll line it up and then start the two 10mm nuts. And then if yours had little caps that covered up, decorative caps, put those back on. Don't forget to put your oil cap back on. Then at the front of the valve cover is the vent. So push that back onto place. You'll make sure you hear it click. Now you can install this next cover here. And if you flip it over and look, there's a little hooks here. And those little hooks will hook underneath right here. So what you do is come in at an angle and then slide it into position and then lower it down. And then you can start the bolts here and tighten those up, and then your little decorative cap. Next, you're going to put the air snorkel back on, so you'll line it up with the air boot right here, and then you'll push the clips into place and lock it back down. I also wanted to mention in the process of this, if your spark plugs have not been changed in a long time, I recommend you change them out then. I will be linking up all the parts and tools that I use in this video in the description. That way, if you need to pick up any of those, you can find those there. And that'll complete the job of replacing the valve cover gasket on a 1999 through 2006 BMW X5 E53. This is the 6-cylinder inline engine, the 3-liter. I'm Brian Eslick from How To Automotive. I'd like to thank you guys for watching my videos. Encourage you to subscribe. Invite you to head over to the howtoautomotive.com website for more valuable videos like this. And I'd like to thank you again for watching.